There's no room for error in the fantasy football playoffs. Learn who you can fire up with confidence and who to maybe be gun shy about. That's right. We take a trip to the Trustometer. All this and more. It's a brand new IBT podcast coming right at you.
I've been going dummy, out of bounds, putting on a clinic. Stick around, carrots in my hardware. KC, caught him in the crosshair. Look at me, been the guy calling Mr. MVP. Keep your ass on the bench by my empty seat. Earn my stripes like I fix this league. Your dog's on the turf, my dog's in the street. You can find me somewhere in between. Never a dull moment like a movie scene. About to do the ops like I did this beat. Let them keep talking RG3. Coming to you live. This is the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
All right, and welcome into the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast. The fantasy football regular season is in the rear view, and the playoffs, they're upon us, folks. So we'll get you set for a championship run in this episode as we bust back out the Trustometer. Of course, we'll give you our Week 15 betting cards as well along the way when we have some absolute gainers for you. So excited for all that. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock. Feeling pretty good today as I managed to claw my way back into the postseason in 6 of my 8 leagues after maybe getting off to the worst start in a decade and a half of playing this game. Ryan Shotgun with me, of course, is the fellows, which includes a big business, Light Ranch and Son of Gun. He's our GM, Eric Romoff. Tex, what's going on? And how many teams do you still have two-stepping?
Oh, man, I've got 3 of my 8 still in the mix. Fortunately, They are my 3 biggest money leagues, so happy about that. The one that I care about the most, my league of record, got bounced out of a bye week on a technicality. We do divisions. Division record is the tiebreaker. It's annoying.
Come on.
My words of wisdom for anyone who is playing on into the fantasy playoffs or anyone who's been bounced out, take a look at your league rules. Think back to the things that annoyed you over the course of the season and get a league vote going on it, because you're going to forget it by the time we get into draft season next year. And I am guilty of this in this league of record. These were things that annoyed me last year. I didn't write it down. I didn't say anything. And here I am now having to win 3 games to take down the title instead of just 2.
Well, it's funny you say that because today in my league as well, there was something that was discussed. It's like, hey, we talked last year, maybe voting for a median, whatever happened to that? Like, can we revisit that? And it turns out our commissioner was not at the draft. So I was like the sub-in commissioner. I was supposed to do like votes for different things that people wanted. I forgot. Golf scramble and preparing some food and some beverages and some other things.
Sleep at the switch as a substitute commissioner, dude. Not a good look.
Hey, there's a lot going on. I was in charge of the board. I was in charge of the trophy, bringing that I broke it. How many
stickers there are on that board? How am I supposed to remember to vote?
Right, exactly. So also joining us today is maybe the biggest Florida Seminole fan in the entire world. He, man, tough season for you, Steve. And then, you don't qualify for a bowl game. Then you get invited to a bowl game and they say, no, actually, we're good. We're actually good. We don't want a bowl game. He's Boston's boy, Steve Lawson. Steven, how are you and the playoff bound squads?
Playoff bound squads are good. We are the Florida State Seminoles. Thank you very much. Not the Florida Seminoles.
Oh, my bad.
The Gators. My bad. So put some respect on our name. But yeah, you know what? We don't want a pity bowl appearance. We'll get back there on our own merit, assuming the committee actually puts us in when we deserve it. All those Notre Dame fans that are crying and throwing a little hissy fit, like, shut up. You didn't make a 12-team playoff. We were undefeated and got told no. So
that's fair. Yeah, good point.
No one I will ever listen to complain about not making the college football playoff. I have no sympathy.
Absolutely. I mean, you probably would have got rolled, 60-0, something like that.
We absolutely would not have. Let me say right now that is such a false narrative because all our players sat out that bowl game. It was all backups.
Well, I'm just saying, like, you lost your quarterback. Like, it was fair.
What?
Yeah.
What? We rolled 2 games without him and won.
Yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. But Steve, excited to be back here with you. Excited. How many leagues? How many leagues did you have this year? How many are you postseason bound in?
I had 14, and I am postseason bound in 8.
Okay. All right. That's not bad. Bad little ratio there. Also, making us sound crispy behind the scenes is everyone's favorite Yinzer Ginger and former IUP Crimson High Keys producer, Kyle Scott. Jim, you're one of those teams that I actually knocked out to get into the Penn League playoffs. There were 7 teams in that league that were 6-7. Insane. You were not one of them. However, you did lock up the number 1 overall pick for next year. So that's got to feel pretty good, right, Jim?
Yeah, I was heading into the week in a very precarious position, and I did not make it out favorably, to say the least. I lost by like 5 points to end up in 12th out of 12th.
I was looking back at some of your recent games. A lot of 150s that you weren't winning. You were putting up 150 and just kind of some bad beats. So, Kyle, good run for you. You know, you probably weren't going to go to a championship anyway, so maybe this is just better. Get a leg up for next year. You got that number 1 overall pick. Start, studying up for it, huh?
Yeah, I got my notepad out now. I'm doing the projections. I'm doing the Excel spreadsheets. I'm coming back next year for the championship.
All right. Well, I'm glad to hear it. As always, also, before we get into the program, shout out to everyone who is making us a part of their week, either on the In Between Media YouTube channel or the audio feed. If you are here on the YouTube channel, thank you so much for the support as well. And please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy this type of content. Also, make sure you're subscribing, folks, if you're new. We got so much good stuff coming your way. And a little bit of housekeeping at the top of the show as well, folks, where we did want to let everyone know that some big news that the IBT Football Family Discord is now available to join for free. You can get access to our analysts, all of our community members, start sit questions in there, trade questions, any fantasy football, NFL, college football betting related questions you have. And you're going to also get access to our memorabilia giveaways for no cost. So if you want to upgrade, then you can go ahead and do that. You'll get access to our full betting cards and entry into the touchdown call contest. And you can do that for $3.99 per month or $36 for the year. That's also going to include all the benefits with the NASCAR family, where we just finished up this last season. We have the betting model over there, more memorabilia giveaways, also have a head-to-head call contest on that as well. And then we also have entertainment and PGA coming in the new year. So a lot of fun stuff happening over there. You can join for free. IBT Football Family, the entire IBT family. You right now can do that at inbetweenmedia.com/chat. There is a dash in that, so it's in-betweenmedia.com/chat. The link is also available in the episode description. We also, folks, some big news. We have a free bonus contest that is starting this NFL postseason, not the fantasy football postseason, but the NFL postseason. We're hosting a PropDecks contest where you can build a player prop based lineup where you were going from wild card weekend all the way to the Super Bowl. The winner of this is going to take home a $200 Fanatics gift card, courtesy of our friends over there at PropDecks. Then you're also going to get, if you're in second place, an autographed Zach Evans Ole Miss Rebels jersey. Oh. And also third place, you're going to score an entry into the 2026 edition of Draft Night Out. That's our live fantasy football draft party in Canton, Ohio at the Fantasy Football Expo in July. Limited spots are available. So join now for free. Go to inbetweenmedia.com/chat, join the Discord, and go to the NFL Playoffs Prop Deck Contest channel in there. It's all very straightforward. We can help answer any questions right there in the Discord if you have them as well. Huge thanks to our partner PropDecks for helping us out hosting this. And let's go ahead and make the NFL playoffs great again, folks. Steve, Eric, very, very excited for this. I know you guys have been frequent in the PropDecks streets, and now we have, four weeks in the playoffs to prove who's the best prop decker. Let's go, baby.
I'm ready. I'm ready to win some money, win some jerseys. I'd love a Zach Evans jersey. I need something to hang behind my head here during these shows. I got to keep it on theme, right? So I got some stuff I got to get.
That's what happens, man. You're like me in the middle of renovations to the office. I started them back in August. They got put on pause for a couple of weeks and months because of the football season. So, Eric, I know you feel me both on the home renovation front and the prop decking in the playoffs front.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this because I've got some grounds to make up in our other prop decks contest. So hopefully this will give me a chance to redeem myself.
Yes, it will, hopefully. So again, PropDecks, you can go over and play the playoff contest. First place, Fanatics gift card, 200 bones, baby. Zach Evans jersey, draft night out ticket for third place. Join now in dashbetweenme.com/chat, and that's going to get you hooked up in there. So a lot of fun things coming your guys' way in 2026. But first, let's go ahead and jump into the temperature check streets with the Fantasy Football Playoffs Trust-O-Meter.
Temperature check.
That's really spicy. Holy shit.
All right, it is temperature check. We're going back to the Fantasy Playoff Trust-O-Meter, where we're ranking some of the most decisive players out in the landscape right now on a scale from 1 to 10. 10 being, hey, we're ready to get this guy. He is a lineup lock every single week. A 1 being, I'm not really starting him. And a 5 being, it's an either or type of situation. So that's what we're going to do for the rest of season for the remaining matchups. Feel free to play along with us in the live chat, also in the comments after the fact, and including, and speaking of the live chat, our friend Albert checking in. Albert, what's going on,
Albert.
buddy? Great to see you once again. Thanks so much for making some time for us. Hope you're having a great Tuesday evening. And let's go ahead and start this off, boys, with Lamar Jackson, quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. Currently the QB 11, 18 points per game on the season. However, he is QB 23 over the past month, and that's with putting up 22.1 fantasy points in week 14. His rest of season schedule, Cincinnati, New England, and then at Green Bay to close it out. Eric, 1 through 10, Lamar Jackson, playoff Trust-O-Meter.
Pretty high. I put him at like a 7.5 or an 8. The thing that dragged down Lamar Jackson over his recent stretch of games upon returning from that injury is he wasn't running nearly as much, and when he was, he didn't seem to have much of an ability to pull away from defenders, at least comparatively to what we had grown accustomed to with him. And over these last couple games, little by little, running a little bit more, showing a little bit more of that elusiveness and that breakaway speed. So I think a lot of what has been dragging him down has been a slower return from injury than maybe we had anticipated. Now we're looking at a Baltimore team that has to win out in order to have even a hope of making the playoffs this year. And I think a lot of that is going to come on the arm and on the legs of Lamar Jackson.
Steve, where are you at on the Trust-O-Meter for Lamar?
9. I think he was injured. I think he came back early from injury, trying to get this team over the hump. And it took a while for him to get going. He's still obviously hindered. He's not playing at the level that we're used to, but I think he's getting healthier. It's just going to be slow, but it's Lamar Jackson, and I'm not going to bet against him. And a 80%, 85% Lamar Jackson is better than most of what you're going to get on the waiver wire anyway.
I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I think I'm closer to a 6, honestly. Like, this did do a lot for me, but also, dude, like we got to think about what he's been up against as of late. Like, it's been great matchup after great matchup, and he hasn't produced. He finally did in week 14, but like, I'm still not like in love with it, right? Like, as a whole on the season, deep ball attempts, 21st in league, team pass plays per game, 31st, pace of play, 21st. Like, there's just not a ton of juice here overall for Lamar Jackson. 26 in air yards. Like, he's not passing it downfield. He's not being productive passing it downfield. So I don't know, man. I think this was just a day that he showed up in Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh defense has been wishy-washy. It seems like they're there some weeks and they're not there other weeks. Like, I think if you have Lamar and you've made it this far, it's going to be hard to find another option better out there on the waiver wire. But like this week, if I'm thinking about it, like him and Brock Purdy, I think are a real decision.
No.
I do not think they are at all.
Okay. All right. Well, let me know.
The thing with Lamar Jackson, I think you're feeling much higher than a 6 on this grade. If the legitimate touchdown to Isaiah Likely last week was called as a touchdown,
that was not a legitimate touchdown. Why is everyone saying that?
We don't need your Steelers core over here.
I'm just saying.
If he made that exact same play
Seth.
moving from the 3-yard line into the end zone, it's called a touchdown every single time.
Yeah, that was
it wasn't for Jesse James back in the day against the Patriots.
Yeah, and y'all were a whole
the week prior, a fluky fumble right at the end zone. if those play out in a typical fashion, I don't think anyone is raising
agree.
any alarm bells about what Lamar can give them down the stretch run.
All right, well, let's go to a different quarterback, Baker Mayfield of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, QB 20 on the season for Baker. Baker, touchdown maker, 16.6 points per game. QB 17, though, over the past month, so still hasn't been super high level producing for fantasy like he was earlier in the year when I think we are all thinking this guy's going to be a top 5 quarterback after how he got out of the gates. So no games over 18 fantasy points over the past 4 weeks. So he's only put up 3 games over 20 points all season long. Rest of season schedule: Atlanta, at Carolina, at Miami. So on paper, these look like 3 pretty gettable defenses, but so did the New Orleans Saints last week, Steve. So where are you going with Baker Mayfield on the Trustometer?
Like a 4. He's clearly hurt and is playing through an injury that is absolutely impacting his ability to throw. And he's down to one useful receiver right now, it seems, where a certain beloved wide receiver of this program has forgotten how to catch touchdowns all of a sudden. Emeka, Egbuka. So Chris Godwin is back to being the wide receiver 1, but Baker Mayfield is clearly injured. It's obvious that he's injured, and it's obvious he's been injured for a while. So I have no trust almost in Baker Mayfield. It's like he's a 4 because maybe a 3. Like if I have no one else, I guess I'll start him, but it's not great.
Eric, Baker Mayfield.
Pretty similar score, probably like a 4.5 or a 5. A lot of that has to do with the first point that Steve led with, right? Like he's clearly still making his way back from injury. I am not nearly as bearish as Steve is on Emeka Egbuka. I think he is still a phenomenal prospect and will be a very electric player for years to come. But the reality is that, they were getting it done by way of high variance plays breaking in their favor to start the season. And over the course of time, that's going to level back out. And I think that's what we've seen over the last few weeks, coupled with what looks to be a lingering injury. That also has minimized some of his willingness to run, which was a nice little topper to his fantasy production over the early part of the season. All those things being minimized makes him really kind of like a replacement level quarterback as we think about the playoff run.
Let's go right then to his receiver, Emeka Egbuka. He is now all the way down at wide receiver 22 on the season, 13.3 points per game after getting out to a top 5 start over the first month of the season. Wide receiver 50 over his past 4 games, been atrocious, really, if you've been playing him. He has just 1 double-digit points game in the last 8 games, folks. 2 months worth of data. It has been terrible for Emeka Egbuka. Like, think about how like he would have been if he came out of the gates like this. People would have thought he was droppable, right? But it was the inverse, and now we're all still holding on hope to that early season production. So for me, again, Atlanta, Carolina, Miami, the last 2 being away games. Eric, where are you on Emeka Egbuka? I think on Baker, I'm right there with you guys. I'm at a 4 or 5. I'm trying to find a different option pretty much. With Emeka, though, I feel like you kind of just have to keep throwing him back out there, at least for now. So I'm at like a 6.5 or a 7. I don't know if there's better options out there.
That's precisely where I am from a score, like a 6.5. I disagree with your point that you don't know if there are better options out there, right? Like, and unless you thought you hit pay dirt and traded away all your receiver depth, Emeka Egbuka wasn't drafted as a week-over-week starter, right? You likely have options on your roster that you can make a reasonable starting decision over Emeka.
Oh,
Egbuka.
I don't. Not on a couple of months.
Okay. Well, you should. And if you don't, then sure. He's certainly a good bit above replacement level out there on the waiver wire. I think that there's probably going to be some coin flip calls for him. The thing that makes me feel a little bit more confident about Emeka Egbuka is I think the return or presumed return of Mike Evans actually will help him a little bit, allow him to play a little bit more of a natural role to his skill set. But also, I talked about variance breaking the right way and the wrong way earlier. Emeka Egbuka, he's sitting here with a 49% catch rate, but if you adjust it for catchable passes, it's 85.2%, right? So a lot of this is Baker Mayfield is targeting him with very difficult to catch balls. I think that he'll have far fewer 50-50 balls routed his way. He'll have far fewer downfield balls routed his way once Mike Evans returns. So all of that should at least kind of stabilize his floor a little bit. But I sincerely doubt we see him produce at a level that he started the season with, a little bit more of like a borderline wide receiver 2 type profile down the stretch.
Steve, taking your thoughts on him as a prospect out of the equation, Eric's proposition is certainly an intriguing one that maybe Mike Evans coming back can actually help Egbuka, maybe take away some of that pressure from the opposing number one cornerback on the outside, but also allow Egbuka to work from the flanker position, work a little more out of the slot. So what are your thoughts? Can Egbuka actually be a strong start the rest of the way, especially with this cupcake-like schedule?
I don't think so. And I know I'm like the resident Egbuka like hater on the show, but like we have to look at it. And I think Eric's point is a solid point, but it's an optimistic view of a pretty pessimistic situation, I think. We're saying that his role decreasing is going to increase his fantasy output. We're hoping that him having a worse role, a lesser role, not as important to the offense will make him more important and more valuable. I think that is hopeful. I like that it's hopeful, but for me, it's like you can't start Emeka Egbuka. He's wide receiver 50 over his last 4, like you said, 1 double-digit game in the last 2 months. That's not startable. You go start Josh Downs. He's probably on your waiver wire. You go start.
I'm not starting Josh Downs with Riley Leonard, Phillip Rivers.
You'd be better off. You'd be better off with Bo Melton at this point. You'd be better off with.
God. Come on. You're throwing out the most ignorant names.
I'll spot you 10 points with both of those names you mentioned.
Yeah, combined.
And yet I would be laughing at you for the last 2 months because that's what happens. It's not just like me throwing names out there for shock value. It's the truth that this is not a good player right now for fantasy purposes. Now, whatever is going on in the advanced metrics world, great, but you guys are trying to argue right now. Like, you can say what you want about these guys, but I have not had to say about them. You know what I'm really excited about is that his role's decreasing, so he's going to get better for us.
That's fair. No, that is a very fair argument. I think what did not become fair was you threw out a guy who was playing cornerback most of the season
and
for
has
the Packers.
outscored Emeka Egbuka over the last month.
I would have to look at that. I couldn't tell you if that is a fact or not.
He absolutely is not. But to be fair to Steve, in that month there's a 24-point game for Emeka Egbuka, right? And not to be nitpicky, the argument I was making is a nuanced one, right? I don't think that Mike Evans returning brings Emeka Egbuka back to those 24, 26, 30 fantasy point ceiling games. But I do think it removes some of these 3-point, 6-point, 4-point outings out of his rotation. It kind of tightens up his range of outcomes to where he's more steadily like an 8 to 15 point kind of player as opposed to a 3 to 25.
I hear you. So what you're saying is that Emeka Egbuka can't handle being the best wide receiver on his team.
What I'm saying is that running routes downfield is naturally going to yield a lower catch rate. And it'll be utilized
someday. Someday I will.
Jefferson, yeah.
Someday I will come knocking for my recognition and the apology. Let the apology be as loud as the disrespect, and that goes for everyone listening too.
Not when you're advising someone to play a receiver with a potential quarterback that was 5 years on the couch. No, I'll do that another day, maybe in some dynasty streets. Let's get to Breece Hall, running back for the New York Jets, though. RB20 on the season, 13.3 points per game for Mr. Breece Hall. RB27 over the past month as well. And now it might be even getting worse. If you don't like Phillip Rivers and Riley Leonard for someone like Josh Downs and JT, well, how about a Missouri former quarterback and Brady Cook potentially under center for the Jets? Not sure what Justin Fields' availability was. It has been, as of now, documented that he has a sore knee. So not really sure what that means in the context of things for if we do see Fields back under center or if it is Tyrod Taylor, who does have a groin injury. Dr. Deepak Chona told me Sunday night on the Fantasy Pros Fantasy Football podcast that he would expect Tyrod to miss at least a game or two. So rest of season schedule for Breece at Jacksonville, at New Orleans, and New England. Eric, 1 through 10 on the Trustometer for Breece Hall.
A 5. The thing that would make me feel better, and I guess I'll qualify my response with, we need to see how they utilize and how they roll out this game plan and this offense with a week 2 plan for their new quarterback, as opposed to him just being tossed in mid-game. But what we saw through the majority of an entire game is a lot more Isaiah Davis than I think any Breece Hall manager would like to see. But more specifically, not nearly as much involvement as a pass catcher as I would hope for in a game script where they were trailing, right? 1 target for Breece Hall last week, 2 in the week prior. I think if you're trying to feel confident in starting him up, it has a lot to do with his role as a pass catcher. And recently that seems to be waning. So it's hard to feel comfortable clicking the name on Breece Hall for me.
I still think he's probably in that like RB2 mix that like I would put him right in the same mix as Emeka Egbuka, right? A 6.5. I'll give him that. Where if I have another strong option, I prefer him. But at this point, RB2s are RB2s. It just happens this one's maybe on the worst offense in the league, Steve.
Yeah, I'm with Eric pretty much in lockstep on this. I think the truth of the matter is Breece Hall's kind of quit, for lack of a better term. I think he's kind of done. He's checked out on the Jets. It seems like everyone has, and I don't buy this Justin Fields knee injury for 2 seconds. They were crazy disrespectful with the way they handled him. And then there's rumors that they asked him to take on a Taysom Hill role, and it's just like, this is a mess. And it all goes to, again, the coaching of this team is abysmal because, like Eric said, they're in a passing game script, and you have a backup quarterback in there who's never taken snaps at the NFL level, and not one, like they had 1 target to their running back. They didn't just check it down the whole game. It's stupid. It's absolutely rookie level coaching beyond anything that we should see at the NFL level. It's an embarrassment to the Jets organization at this point, the way that they are coaching this team. It is an affront to the football fans everywhere.
Yeah, if anyone isn't familiar with Brady Cook, too, he was Missouri's trigger man for the last 4 or 5 years, really. He's been down there, been the starter for 3 of them. Had a really nice 2023 season, severely regressed, though, in 2024. He was banged up a little bit. Missouri's offense as a whole looked a little bit different, but we saw a big regression for Luther Bird, and that was a big concern of mine coming in the league. Brady Cook was kind of at the helm of that, so he doesn't, really aspire confidence. We'll see what the Jets can do, though. But I think we're all pretty much in a line here. Maybe I'm a little more, rose-tinted glasses for my boy Breece, but still not, very, very happy with him going forward. Let's get to the Pittsburgh Steelers, though, where we have Kenneth Gainwell and Jaylen Warren, the 2 running backs there. Gainwell, RB25 on the season, 11.5 points per game. RB7, though, over the past month. He's been a running back 1, boys. And Jaylen Warren, RB21 on the year, 13.2 points per game. RB18 over the past month. I've said this before. I think Kenneth Gainwell is teeter-tottering on potential league-winning status because he is the number 2 option in the Pittsburgh Steelers passing offense. He has been making the most out of his role, which I've said before as well, that I really think it's like the past year's Jaylen Warren, right? He gets a lot of the pass catching work, but he also gets a lot of the red zone usage as well, which is kind of making him almost more valuable, and it has been more valuable than Jaylen Warren lately. So for me on Kenneth Gainwell, boys, I am locking in with on the Trustometer probably an 8.5, and I would say Jaylen Warren, I'm closer to a 7.5, but I think they're both pretty much must starts, even though Miami has gotten a lot better against opposing running backs, and we could see that this weekend in the Steel City, Steve.
Yeah, I'm actually even more bullish on Kenneth Gainwell than you are, which is kind of saying something. It's tragic that he is sitting on the last place team in my home league's team right now, rotting away, not participating in the playoffs, which is just sad to see. But I'm at a 9, firing up Kenneth Gainwell. I think Aaron Rodgers has found someone that he really, really, really likes to go to and likes to go to often. And then he does get that red zone opportunity. Jaylen Warren, I think, is fine. He's like a 6 for me, maybe a 5.5. I really like the Lenny Kravitz look he has going on in the picture down below. I'm a big fan of that. But other than that, he's never really been someone I wanted to get behind and like really feel great about. But Gainwell, as one of the few remaining IBT members in the Scott Fish Bowl, thank you, Kenneth Gainwell, for keeping me in this. So Scott, thank you again. Shouting you out for putting together Scott Fish Bowl. I'm still alive and kicking, and I have to thank Mr. Gainwell quite a bit for keeping me there.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. How close were you to the cut line this past week?
Not very.
Wow, good on you. Good on you. I did not make it past the second round of the playoffs. That's about as far as my boat went there. So I feel you on that one. Eric, where are you at here on Gainwell and Jaylen Warren? I don't think you're going to be as bullish, just assuming on Gainwell. What's your trustometer ranks?
Yeah, well, I mean, statistically, there's not much room to go up. So your prognostication is bang on. I am probably about a 5 on both. If I could combine their roles into one player, I would be right up there with you, 8.5, 9, right? But Seth, you have a bit of a type. You love guys that are on the field for less than 50% of plays. This is the same
when they're
thing
on
that
the field, they're getting opportunities, baby.
This is the same thing that's cursed you with Khalil Shakir for years, right? I can't do anything but tip my hat to their productivity when they take the field. But we're talking about confidence, and guys that play 42, 48, 51% of snaps at the high end is hard to be confident in. I also don't know where this consideration of Kenneth Gainwell as the red zone weapon came from, right? Jaylen Warren is outpacing him in red zone touches about 2-1. Again, they kind of vulture off of each other, right? So it's been a nice swing, right? If you've been starting him, you've certainly been happy. I don't think that he, falls off of a cliff, but the possibility is well represented on the range of outcomes if they're not playing 50% of snaps.
Okay. Yeah, I will say, like, Miami has flipped from one of the best run defense or one of the worst run defenses to one of the best over the past 4 weeks. So I think this week will be a big test for them. But I'm still very confident against Detroit and then Cleveland. I think you could do worse. Their run defense gotten a little bit worse down the stretch. So mixed opinions, a lot of mixed opinions on the show, and maybe some mixed opinions in the chat from our friend Rachel as well, saying she just joined the stream tonight. Gotta be a joke about the facial hair going right now. So yeah, it's definitely buzzing. It's definitely buzzing. You guys are, usually rocking a beard or something at that point. And
I think this is firmly directed your way, Seth. You're the only one that's changed up your normal deployment here.
How are we feeling about it? We're about a month in now.
I hate it.
You hate it?
Yeah, I hate mustaches.
I'm completely here for it.
I hate mustaches.
Go all in.
I hate mustaches. I'm like, I've told my boyfriend, I'm like, you absolutely cannot grow a mustache. Like, no way. I cannot.
A week from now, it's probably going to be gone. We have engagement photos. So unless it gets, I need it to get to a certain level of bushiness, and I haven't achieved that. I think, it's a no from Rachel. All right.
I think you're about a week away from that level of bushiness. You need to dig in here.
I think you're about a week away from being banned from being within 200 feet of schools. If you keep that mustache.
You need these engagement pictures to go out, and people who receive it look at it and go, Seth went for it. This dude's making a statement.
Your wedding is not the time to make a statement.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's not my wedding. It's not my wedding either. It's Katie's wedding. I'm just a willing participant and lucky enough to be there. So, yes, that will be quite a decision to make. So tune in a week from now and you'll see what choice I make. Let's get to another running back though, folks, where we have Tony Pollard of the Tennessee Titans, RB30 on the season, 10.5 points per game. And that comes off a 28.1 point performance in week 14, his first double-digit performance since week 7. Rest of season schedule at San Fran, then Kansas City and New Orleans. Steve, can you trust Tony Pollard? Is he back in the good graces of you?
No. No. It was an ugly, gross, wet, snowy, sloppy game out there between them and the Browns, who I'm shocked allowed him to go like berserk on them. They've been actually half decent against the run this season. Usually that doesn't happen, but we've seen guys explode at weird times. Tony Pollard is no exception. This is actually kind of his MO at this point, that he disappoints you for 7 weeks in a row and then explodes, and then you are right back in. It's almost like he's Hunter Henry, but at the running back position. It's not good, and you don't want to go back to that well. He's had his big game. He's exploded. This is like a 3, maybe a 3.5 if I'm feeling generous. Mm-hmm. Leave him on your bench. Leave him on your bench.
Eric, Tony Pollard for you.
I mean, I guess he's like a 5, right? Happiness is a function of expectations, right? If you are expecting Tony Pollard to perform at a level like he did last week at any point in the playoffs, you're going to be sorely disappointed. If you're still in the playoffs and you're rostering Tony Pollard, you're getting by with him giving you like 6 to 10 points a week, which I feel okay about him doing down the stretch run, right? So if that's what you need out of him, it's probably a higher score, but realistically, this is clearly the best game of his season and probably the best game that we will see out of him for the next handful of years and really the stretch run of his career.
Yeah, I'm mixed on it. Like, I'm probably at a 4.5. I'm gonna cop out with a 4.5 because, like, I actually don't hate the schedule. Like, the Saints have been pretty good for opposing running backs of late. San Fran, not a team that scares me. The Chiefs are probably the worst matchup for them, but they've actually gotten worse over against the run over the last month or so as well. So I think the schedule is fine for Pollard. I just think it's like, I don't know how much juice there is. Like, I drafted him a lot of places this year. I really thought it could be a breakout. The usage, especially at the beginning of the season, was definitely there, boys. It was just like, even last week when he was on some of the breakaway runs, he didn't look like explosive, like fast like he did in the past. Like, I just felt like, man, like he's really having to like break a couple tackles here and, get a little lucky, it felt like, on some of those runs.
Yeah, the Tennessee Titans in general just don't have juice. I mean, think of it. This is a team that you put a Super Bowl bet on to start the season.
All right.
Like thinking
it was for the cash out. It was for the cash out.
Cash out go for you?
Yeah, like they were going to flirt with the playoffs enough for you to get a cash out. And,
I actually did get a cash out. I think I invested
28 cents on the dollar.
I think exactly. I put 0.10 of a unit, and I think I got like 0.03 back of a unit or something like that. Yeah. So
that was just that was a pity. That was pity from wherever you placed that.
Hey, it looked pretty good.
FanDuel took it as a cry for help, and they wanted to give you something.
I tried to do the same thing with Cam Scatterboo, 200-1 Rookie of the Year bet, and that one's looking good. I was getting offered a big cash out a couple weeks into the season before he got injured. So it works sometimes, it doesn't work other times, boys. But also had a nice Jeremiah Love 50 or 80-1 on the Heisman this year, and he's going to be in New York. He's definitely not going to win it, but was getting a little bit of a cash out for a while there on that too. So
this is like the weakest Heisman class ever. I can't believe how bad it is this season.
I like Fernando. He's got moxie.
Yeah, but you can't win the Heisman on moxie. That stinks.
Yeah, I mean, won the Big Ten championship, leads the country in passing touchdowns. Different program, but yeah, it could be better. I agree with you. It's not exciting in years past like it was last year, but still. Let's go ahead though, gentlemen. Before we get to the 2026 rookies in a future episode, let's stay right here in weeks 15 through 17. Deebo Samuel of the Commanders tied for wide receiver 22 on the season, 13.3 points per game. Wide receiver 24 over the past month. Now we'll likely have Marcus Mariota back under center after really an egregious call to throw Jaden Daniels, JD Honey back up there last week when he got injured. Rest of the season schedule for Deebo: Giants, Philly, and the Dallas Cowboys. So 3 divisional matchups against 3 pretty gettable defenses as a whole. Eric, where are you at on Deebo Samuel?
Pretty middle of the road. I'll call it a 4. Right, his opportunity to shine was when Terry McLaurin was out of the lineup. Terry McLaurin looks to be mostly back to shades of what we remember him to be, and so now we're looking at an offense that is going to play at a bit of a slower pace. They've got more options to distribute the ball. When they've tried to force touches into Deebo's hands, he doesn't seem to have the juice that he did a few years ago in San Francisco. So he's generally a player to be avoided in my mind.
What did you put him at on a rating?
I'll give him a 4.
A 4. I'm probably like a 6, I guess, Steve. Like, again, if there's a better option out there, I'm willing to find it, especially because I've noted before on the program that when Deebo doesn't get into the end zone, he's averaging well under 8 points per game, right? Like, it just craters his value. A lot of that is scoring base. He's not finding the end zone right now, but 3 teams coming up that he could score against. So your thoughts on Deebo Samuel on the Trustometer?
Probably more in line with Eric, probably like 4, 3.5 if I'm in a bad mood. It's not looking good in Washington right now. Nothing's looking great. It's been an injury-plagued season for them. Mariota had his moment in the sun that he weirdly popped off and almost dragged them to a win against the Broncos, and that was great. But yeah, Deebo Samuel isn't the wide receiver 1 there, and he's, we lost Zach Ertz to a hospital ball. It's just, there's a lot working against him and the Commanders, and it's just ugly right now. And sometimes guys, when there's nothing to play for, they just kind of, the Eagles and the Cowboys, they have things to play for. They are going to naturally play harder than the Commanders do. And that's what has me worried.
Okay. Yeah. Can we do a moment of silence quickly for Zach Ertz? And I mean, this guy was a fantasy football rock star for years, went to Arizona, continued to find the end zone there, and has shown up at the Commanders for the past few seasons as a really steady streamer at the position. So let's take a moment here. Zach Ertz, we appreciate you.
Well, he's not dead. I don't know if we need a whole...
Steve, you didn't give it a moment. Come on. What are you doing interrupting the moment? What are you doing?
How was a moment? It was a beat.
We're doing a thing.
Yeah, I was giving it a moment.
Right.
All right, one more time. Moment for Zach Ertz. All right, moment has passed. Thank you, Zach Ertz. We appreciate you. On to wide receivers, Justin Jefferson. We're already in wide receivers. Let's go back to wide receivers after the Zach Ertz tangent. Justin Jefferson of the Vikings, wide receiver 32 on the year. That is wild. That is not what we expected from a top 5 overall pick in a lot of redrafts. Wide receiver 55 over the past month. He has cleared 20 fantasy points just once this season, gentlemen. He's averaging 4.7 targets per game since week 12. Rest of season schedule, though, I got to tell you, at Dallas, at the Giants, and then Detroit, Rock City. Bring me home, baby. So where are you guys at on Justin Jefferson? Steve, I'll start with you. I'll share my excitement or disexcitement for later on. Disexcitement's not a word. Unexcitement? Unexcitement. Is that the right word?
Lack of excitement.
Lack of excitement. Eric, you got a word? What is the word?
I like disexcitement. I'm gonna work that into the repertoire.
All right, yeah. But
I don't
give me credit.
I don't want to go first on this one because I think it's a 4. Like it's not Justin Jefferson's fault. It's just JJ McCarthy stinks. Like he's so bad. He's unbelievably bad. It's historically bad.
So do half the NFL quarterbacks right now, Steve. Like you got Philip Rivers who's going to maybe take a shot right now.
But you know what? Here's the thing about Philip Rivers is he had retired. He had walked away. It was like, whatever. That is not fair to compare to 9. Guy who gives himself his own nickname, gets drafted and is like, I'm going to make everyone pay. He's Josh Rosen 2.0. He is absolute cheeks. He is the worst quarterback I have ever had the displeasure of having to watch on my TV.
He is not high draft pick,
dude. He is historically that bad. The advanced metrics are saying that he is in fact
your favorite player for years was freaking Zach Wilson, who was worse.
I just like to look at Zach Wilson. I've never said Zach Wilson was that good of a football player. I thought he had a great arm and I thought he was really pretty. So and JJ McCarthy doesn't even have that really going for him because he's kind of a weird dude and it makes him really unattractive that he calls himself 9. So but you're looking at even the advanced metrics. Advanced metrics say only Jamarcus Russell has ever been worse on the football field as a quarterback in the NFL than JJ McCarthy. He has rendered maybe the best wide receiver of this generation absolutely useless. He's rendered Justin Jefferson pedestrian. He's made him wide receiver 55. I could have Justin Jefferson higher than wide receiver 55. JJ McCarthy stinks. JJ McCarthy should not be on the TV. They should black out the games when he's running the offense and just come back when the other team's on offense because it's absolutely insulting to the viewers, the fans, fantasy players, everybody for this man to be on the football field. I feel so sorry for Kevin O'Connell and them letting Sam Darnold. He didn't draft him. The GM did because they were just so much smarter than everybody else.
Kevin O'Connell has a say in whose quarterback's going to be. But
you know what? Everyone should have known when his college coach didn't pick him. No one should have picked him. This guy stinks.
Okay, well, I am still at I'm at an 8 for Justin Jefferson. I think you have to fire him up. I really do. We'll talk more about this matchup later on. I have some stats about the Cowboys as of late against opposing X-wide receivers. But just like in general, though, for Jay Jetta, still 7th in air. It's 9th in deep targets, 7th in target share, 9th in targets. Are those targets great? No, but they're still targets. And I think that's more than enough to get it done against this really, really soft schedule down the stretch. So I'm going to keep rolling him out there. I'm still not giving up on JJ McCarthy. This is a guy who he didn't get any reps last year. He wasn't playing in the necessarily most pro-style ready offense at Michigan as well, and he has been hurt this year. So, Eric, I'm still starting Justin Jefferson, I think, in most cases down the stretch. What about you?
I am going to do my best to put aside your unwavering Big Ten bias. Your argument for why we should be patient with JJ McCarthy is because his own head coach decided to hide him and his lack of skills at the college level. So they've got to be in there somewhere, right? JJ McCarthy is absolute buns. Steve, your statistic about advanced metrics was specifically EPA per play. It's actually a bit dated. He used to be second only or second worst only behind Russell that you mentioned earlier. I think with last week's game, he moved up to like fourth worst. Guys like Josh Rosen and
Let's go,
EJ
JJ.
Manuel crept their way in there, but still absolutely atrocious. All this is to say, I believe you are both right. If we're talking about the game we're playing and confidence rating, I'm absolutely with Steve. It's a 3. You cannot feel confident firing him up there. But in terms of your sentiment, I think you still have to click the button. It's still Justin Jefferson. You drafted him to be your wide receiver 1. You very likely don't have a more capable.
Let's be real.
or
You're
at
probably
least-
not in the playoffs if you
I
have
mean, this
him.
is probably the
Maybe
real
an 8 was
answer
too
here.
strong because Steve was so low. I guess I'm gonna regroup mine. I'm gonna go 7.5.
Point being, if you have him and you're in the playoffs, I think you still have to click the button. You just don't feel good about it. You feel like a 3 out of 10 in the confidence scale.
Yeah. I guess there's a high degree of variance in starting Justin Jefferson. He could, I think, go off for a 30 burger starting this week. I think he can.
Why? Why do you think that?
I will save it for the betting. I will save it for the betting.
Oh.
Okay. But
I think that because I have money on the line.
Yeah.
it's the matchup more than anything. It is what it is.
JJ McCarthy could sell ice to Seth in Alaska at this point with the way that he has him absolutely wrapped around. I've seen cult leaders with less control over a human being.
Jason, seeing your message come in, buddy. We'll get to those here in just a little bit. We have a couple more players to put on the temperature check rating scale. Christian Watson, last one at wide receiver, gentlemen, wide receiver 12 on the season, 7 games played, 14.4 points per game at Denver, at Chicago, and then Baltimore. I don't love the Denver matchup. They've been a little more susceptible this season. Of course, some of that's with Patrick Surtain in and out of the lineup. I think with Christian Watson, I'm probably at a good 8.5 at this point. Like, it's just been really solid. Even with Jaden Reed coming back, that's not affecting his role. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to fire out an 8.5 there for Christian Watson. Eric, your confidence level on C. Watts?
I'm right there with you. I'll give him an 8 only because he is going to have to navigate that Denver matchup against Patrick Surtain in a couple weeks' time. If it wasn't for that, I might be flirting with like a 9.5 or a 10. This version of Christian Watson has been phenomenal to watch since he returned from injury a few weeks ago. What he's doing out there on the field, given how recently that ACL tear was, is mind-boggling in and of itself. But there's something about the way that he recovered and his mentality and the changes that he's made to his approach in light of coming back from a catastrophic injury, that he's emerged as a more complete and holistic wide receiver than he ever was before. He was always down the field, stretch the field, run faster than everybody guy. But now he's coming in and he's running intermediate routes and he's running in-breaking routes and his routes look crisper and he's winning contested catches. Like, all these holes in his game seemingly have been shored up, presumably because he doesn't have the fallback of I'm just faster than everybody else on the field. So it looks like his game is really rounding into form. And the Packers are recognizing it, right? Trying to figure out which wide receiver to trust in the Packers wide receiver core has been maddening over the last, decade and a half. And now all of a sudden you're seeing Christian Watson start to emerge and pull away in terms of snaps, in terms of routes run, in terms of routes run per dropback, right? All these things, he's really starting to corner that leading wide receiver 1 role for the Packers. And I am comfortable enough clicking that button for each of the playoff games, including what presumes to be a pretty tough matchup against Patrick Surtain.
What about you, Steve?
I'm with you. 8, just about. The Denver game does concern me because I expect them to move him away from Surtain as much as possible. But if he winds up covered by Riley Moss, that turns into Riley Moss just tackling him as he gets downfield and past him, because Riley Moss is like the king of pass interference. So that might be a frustrating game for you. Yeah. But other than that, wheels up on Christian Watson, and great to see him back and doing more than he ever has. And Eric's right. I mean, it's been the last half decade has been infuriating for any fantasy player trying to figure out what on earth to do with this Packers team. Ever since Rodgers and Adams left, it's been a black hole of what to do. And you just hope Jaden Reed popped off on his random games when you had him. And now it's Christian Watson just going berserk and Matthew Golden not seeing the field. And it's very strange, but I'm here for it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. I've been so thrown off. I was first thrown off when they gave him the extension while he was injured, right? Because I was like, man, really? Because it felt like Christian Watson's rookie season was the best it was going to get, right? And then it really started to kind of tail off where he didn't become a rock star and he didn't really seem to develop and take that next level in his route running. But as Eric noted, he's really started to see a bit different of a tree this season. So yeah, I'm really excited for what the future can hold. I think him, Jaden Reed, and I'm going to imagine eventually Romeo's probably going to walk. So I think it's going to be Golden, Watson, and Jaden Reed, and that's going to be their wide receiving core moving forward, which I like. I think it's solid.
That's a sick trio if they're all healthy.
Yeah, health will be a big thing for that. Gentlemen, 2 tight ends. We'll do them both at the same time here. Tyler Warren, tight end for the Indianapolis Colts. Tight end 7 on the season. Tight end 11 in his last 4 games. Now likely has rookie quarterback Riley Leonard under center. This is the guy who led Notre Dame to the college football championship a year ago. Keep in mind, though, very much a run-first quarterback. 44-year-old Philip Rivers also signed the team's practice squad this week after a few years on the couch. Anthony Richardson, he has not been under center all season. We're not sure if we'll get him. It's going to be one of these guys, though, rest of the way with Daniel Jones out with that torn Achilles. So sad to see that for Danny Dimes, who was just a few games away for a nice payday. Rest of season schedule at Seattle, San Francisco, and Jacksonville. And then Kyle Pitts of the Atlanta Falcons as well, folks. Tight end 14 on the season, 10.1 points per game. Tight end 10, though, over the past month. Back-to-back games now at 15-plus fantasy points, but both of those contests, no Drake London. Rest of season schedule at Tampa Bay, at Arizona, and the Rams. Steve, Tyler Warren, Kyle Pitts, put him on the Trusto-meter, please.
I got them both at 8s. I know with Riley Leonard, that's a concern, but rookie quarterbacks, especially ones who don't love to throw, really love to throw to tight ends, especially ones who are very often safety checkdowns. I also love the fact that he is the emergency quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. So I will always take the opportunity to have that. Kyle Pitts, I don't worry about Drake London because Kirk Cousins has kind of lost some zip on that fastball. Lately, I am much more concerned about Drake London than I am Kyle Pitts. I think Kirk Cousins will continue to feed Kyle Pitts because he's comfortable working with Kyle Pitts. He is not comfortable, I don't think, chucking it deep and chucking those 50-50 balls to Drake London. Not anymore.
All right, he's looked pretty decent getting Mooney involved, at least better than Michael Penix Jr. has pretty much all seasons. But I think I'm a 7 on Warren. I'm the high guy usually on Warren, but I think I'm still rolling him out there. And like you said, I think it could be advantageous having a rookie quarterback looking for him often. So maybe the target volume goes up, but I just think the overall scoring prowess goes down. And I also just think the high volume, the high motor of this offense comes down a little bit. So Kyle Pitts, I'm probably at like a 5.5. Like if you have him, you can start him, but like there's a lot of other tight ends I'd rather go with. Eric, what about you? Kyle Pitts, Tyler Warren?
I'm a bit closer to your side of the scale. With Kyle Pitts, 5.5 makes good sense to me. I agree with Steve's analysis that Kirk Cousins doesn't have the fastball and it probably won't be wheels up for Drake London, but that doesn't mean that he won't try. And any diversion of target flow away from Kyle Pitts is a risk.
You think that we realize that he's lost something off the fastball, but maybe Kirk Cousins doesn't realize he's lost something off the fastball.
He's in the best shape of his life. He's still got a chooch, right? With Tyler Warren, the only thing I'll kind of add is a little bit different. Reporting out of Indianapolis and at the national level, Diana Rossini is the report that I saw most recently. Seems to indicate it's going to be Philip Rivers suiting it up. He is in better shape than when he was playing 5 years ago. Apparently, the Shane Steichen offense is the one that he has been running for his kids' high school team that he's been coaching, so he knows the system. All of the reports in and around this situation are absolutely glazing up Phil Rivers.
Wait, we got the best shape of his life? We got the best shape of his life
We got
report?
the best shape of his life. Yeah, gym rat, first guy in, last guy out. You name it, right? All the tropes.
Oh no, it's never been more over.
He's gonna reset his Hall of Fame. He's gonna reset his Hall of Fame class. He's a semifinalist this year,
and he's not resetting that clock to hold the clipboard. I promise you. I think. Wow. I mean, I'm now speculating, but reading the tea leaves and the reporting, I think it's Phil Rivers as soon as this week.
Yeah.
Much like Kirk Cousins, the last time we saw him out there, he was woefully underthrowing a lot of his targets. So I think that bodes well for Tyler Warren. But to your point, Seth, the tide is going out in terms of the potency of this offense, and scoring upside is a lot of the appeal for Tyler Warren. So he's probably closer to like a 6 or a 6.5.
Someone must want to kill whoever let go of that elastic band that smacked Anthony Richardson in the face. Like,
it was an inside job. I think it was the same guy that stabbed Tyrod Taylor in the lungs.
Like, I think it has to have jumped. It has to have jumped Tyrod Taylor's injury as the most bizarre injury in NFL history.
Or the second most clear hit job by a team's medical staff.
Yeah, for real.
NFL history.
Hey,
wailed him in the face so hard it broke his eye socket.
Yes.
Busted his whole face up.
All I'll say is the year that Justin Herbert got the call in week 2 because of that injection, I had him in Scott Fishbowl and he carried me deep into the playoffs. So
I want Richardson to come back with the LeBron black mask.
That'd be pretty good.
A little extra pad in there. Let's go to Jason's question before we get out of the fantasy streets. He has Joe Burrow with a stack of Jamar Chase. Who should he pick up just in case for week 16, 17? Jacoby Brissett, Jared Goff. We also have Aaron Rodgers, Bryce Young, Sam Darnold, Tyler Shuck. I'd have to look at what Jared Goff's schedule is, but just like seeing that Jacoby Brissett has been in quarterback 1 in every start this season, it's hard for me to get away from him. Do you guys have any different opinions?
No, it's Brissett for me.
Eric?
It is Brissett for me as well. Taking a look at the schedules, Brissett has the Falcons and the Bengals in those 2 weeks. Jared Goff and the Lions have the Steelers and the Vikings. So I'll give the nod to Brissett in terms of strength of schedule. And also he's been getting it done, right? He's out there playing for a contract. He might be one of the bigger free agent signings as we fast forward to the offseason, which is a wild thing to say. But dude's trying to get his money, and I'm here for it.
Jason also asking, which 1-2 players should I stash on my bench? Tracy, Blake Corum. I also have Kyron, Xavier Worthy. Also got P. Ryan and White, Sampson, and Chuba out there available. To me, it's obviously Blake Corum. This guy has taken pretty much a 50-50 workload over the last couple weeks since Kyron has been banged up. I would also, looking at this as probably a 10-team league, I'm guessing. I don't mind.
This is an 8-team league. There's no way this is a 10-teamer.
Well, either way, I don't want to yuck anyone's yum. So Tracy would probably be my second pick, I would say. I'd probably go Tracy, and then shortly after that would be Chuba, and then Worthy for me. But Steve, do you have a different rankings of those players?
I would go probably Corum, Tracy, White, probably in that order.
Okay. Eric?
Corum is the clear number 1, right? He should be owned in general, especially because you're the Kyron manager. After that, I'll probably go Chuba and then Tracy. It sounds like the consensus would be Tracy as the second choice.
Okay.
You're speculating with guys that may or may not have the lead role.
Yeah, Corum needs to be rostered, though, especially if he's your handcuff at this point. So, yeah, go get him. Guys, great stuff on the Trustometer. Let's get out of here with some between bets.
Between bets. Between bets.
It's between bets. You win, we all win. Let's go ahead and fill out our week 15 betting cards. Again, the full betting cards available right now in the IBT football family. You can head over there if you haven't already. You can join the Discord for free. You're also going to get access into our memorabilia giveaways. And then if you upgrade, you can get access to our full NFL and college football betting cards and entry into the touchdown call contest. So, gentlemen, how was week 14 for you? I felt really good about it. Hit my biggest bet of the weekend, the Devon Achane anytime touchdown, -135. So it was 1 for 2 on the touchdowns, 1 for 1 on the totals as well. Took that Cleveland Browns team total over. That came through for us. Just 2 for 4 on the props. So I essentially just can't hit any Thursday night football bet. I'm 0-8 this year. I just need to stop betting it. But I'm so deep into it now that I think positive regression has to come, and it just has not. So don't take any of my Thursday night football bets. I got none this week for you, so don't worry about that. And also, Tyler Shuck, you're dead to me. I trusted you. Vele came through for me. Shuck did not on that stack. So, that's kind of where I am after that week. What about you, Steve?
I did well. My big bet of the week was that the Houston Texans would, in fact, so
Okay. You're cutting out a little bit with us, Steve. So I did miss that. But Eric, how was your betting card?
I think Steve said that he did well on his big bet with the Texans, which is over the last 5 weeks a winning proposition. I had a so-so week. I was 3-3, where I was drinking some juice were the tickets that I lost, and where I had some underdogs are the ones that I cashed. So I was up about 3/4 of a unit. Enough to stay and play and go for another pass at it here in week 15.
Okay, yeah. It's been a lot of back and forth, breaking even over the past 4 or 5 weeks for me. So hopefully we can get back into the green this go round. And Eric Roma, start us off with your best bets of the week for week number 15 of the NFL season.
Yeah, looking at a couple of the division matchups that are on the slate for week 15. A couple of road teams catch my eye. The first being the Los Angeles Chargers, coming off that big win on Monday Night Football, getting 4.5 points at the Kansas City Chiefs. Some of this is just the historic nature, at least the recent history of this rivalry, tends to play pretty close overall. Some of this is, I think, Kansas City very much so sees the writing on the wall that their season is absolutely a wash and that they really have nothing to play for. It seems like frustration is mounting, and none of the breaks are going in their favor this week. But also, I think Los Angeles is really kind of rounding into form, right? As much as we want to poke fun at Greg Roman and his style of offense, he has 2 very capable running backs that they can use as the foundation of this offense. The defense is at least making timely plays, right? They're not as much of a liability as they were in weeks past. So all this is to say, I think it should be a competitive game. And that 4.5 points is too big of a number. I think it probably comes down to a field goal. The other division matchup that catches my eye, the Carolina Panthers. I'm actually going with an alt line here, laying 6.5 points when a little bit less than a touchdown favorite at the New Orleans Saints. I do not think that the New Orleans Saints that we saw last week is a performance that we can expect them to replicate. I think that has much more to do with some timely scrambles and some injury to Baker Mayfield and to the overall health of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers roster than it does any signs of life from the New Orleans Saints. Carolina is right here in the mix for the division. They're coming off of a bye week, so they are rested and healthy and ready to go. But they're also coming off a huge win against the current 1 seed in the NFC. So to think that team, I think on the current spread, is only a 3.5 point favorite against New Orleans Saints, who are competing for the first overall pick, is laughable. And I'm happy to slide that line all the way up to 6.5. That'll get you plus 155, courtesy of our friends over at DraftKings.
Okay, let's go to the total picks, where I have to say the team totals have become one of my favorite markets to dabble in so far this season. So I've got 2 for you. The first is the New York Jets under 14.5 points, -118. At DraftKings against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jets are 3-0 to the under in games that they've been over a touchdown underdog. So averaging just 11.7 points per game in those 3 games, 2 of which of those have been in the past month alone. Likely no Garrett Wilson back, and potentially turning to either Brady Cook or Justin Fields at quarterback with Tyrod Taylor injured. So either way, though, like really, I don't care who the quarterback is between Justin Fields or Cook, because the Jets are 30th in total yards per game, 25th in points per game. And the Jags D, man, they've been really impressive down the stretch, right? I mean, they're getting takeaways at a high clip, continuing throughout the entire season. They're also now starting to get after the passer a little bit. So they held teams like Tennessee and the Chargers under this total in just the last month alone. And then my best bet of the week, it is the Cleveland Browns alt over 13.5 points, minus 142 at DraftKings against Chicago. I laid 3.5 units down on this one. I love this play. Maybe one of my favorite all season. The Browns, all of a sudden, they're looking pretty all right with Shedeur Sanders under center here, averaging 311.7 yards per game, 20.3 points per game in his 3 starts. And with how Caleb Williams likes to run around and try to extend plays, I think Myles Garrett lurking out there could get after him, get some short fields for Cleveland. And like, why would I be afraid of the Bears defense? I'm not at all. They've allowed the 8th most points per game this season, 25.8, and the 6th most yard per game. In fact, if the Browns did not reach 14 points per game, points in this game, guys, that would be the only team all year long who has not reached 14. Every single team has gotten 14 points. So I feel great about this one. Either the Browns are going to snap the trend or we're going to snap a big payday here. So give me the Cleveland Browns on the alt team over. And Steve, you also have thoughts on this game as well as some other totals.
Yeah, I got this game going over 40.5 points. For the reasons that you said. I mean, Chicago is not a good defense. This is not a good scoring defense. They are one of the worst in the league, bottom 10 in the league at scoring defense. And the Cleveland Browns have found an effective formula to put up points on the board, and that is throw screen passes. I will not sit here and say Shedeur Sanders has looked great in other passing facets of the game, but he knows how to throw an effective screen pass. Shockingly, very good at throwing behind the line of scrimmage, which is what he did an awful lot in college. But even so, I think this Browns defense is significantly worse than it used to be. Myles Garrett will get after the quarterback, but everyone else seems to be taking a year off in this defense. And so I think Caleb Williams is going to feast. Ben Johnson has this team kind of firing on all cylinders right now. They look really good. I know they lost to Green Bay this week, and that was kind of like anything could happen in those rivalry games. This is going to be one of those games I expect to hit this over pretty early into the game. This will not be a nail biter over. The next one I'm looking at, Miami Dolphins, Pittsburgh Steelers, 42.5. Listen, I have made a lot of money this season betting these low overs. 42.5, too low. Dolphins are an explosive offense. Achane says he wants to play, says he should be good to play. I believe him. Things are looking good. Pittsburgh, offense is looking better. Rodgers is looking like he's getting a handle on this offense. This is a matchup that, honestly, are two defenses that do not scare anybody right now. These are not defenses that anyone's worrying about. The Dolphins are playing better against the run, and they're not letting up a ton of points, but they certainly let up 20, 21, 22, 23 points. It seems like every single game. And they know how to put up points as quickly as anybody. Achane is a home run waiting to happen at any moment. I really like this line. And then I don't usually do this, but I am going to do it anyway. Minnesota against the Dallas Cowboys. I went under 48.5 points. This is a line that is banking on the Dallas Cowboys pre-trade deadline terrible defense. After the deadline, this has been a very formidable defense. They are no longer a wet piece of paper up on the line of scrimmage. Quinn Williams has filled that hole nicely. The pass rush is looking really strong. And then the secondary is able to make more plays because they are not having to cover for so long without any pass rush. Minnesota, Brian Flores is the best coordinator, one of the best coordinators in the NFL right now, maybe the best coordinator in football right now, with how he has this defense playing. And it's not full of like superstars all over the place like some of these other teams. Sure. It is absolutely remarkable what this man can do. And he has had some of the best offenses in absolute fits all season. And his blitz packages, I don't see this Dallas Cowboys offensive line holding up well against it. I don't see Javonte Williams being able to get away very often. I can see this becoming very much a slog fest. It's going to be kind of slower, a lot of body blows, none of those haymakers that we're used to from these like an explosive offense like Dallas. And then on the other side, JJ McCarthy's the quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. And as I said earlier, he stinks. So he probably will single-handedly drag this total underneath the 48.5.
Yeah, I honestly, as the JJ McCarthy truther, thought about betting the over on this, and I just can't get invested with it because there's just too much right now for me to say, he can do that again. He can have another strong performance. The Vikings can have another strong offensive performance, which was, partially led by their strong defense last week as well. So I will say, though, the Cowboys defense has been cheeks again lately. So I do think there are going to be some explosives in this game. I'll talk about that later. Eric, go ahead. You also have a couple totals to get to.
Yeah, 3 of them. In fact, I'll start with the Indianapolis Colts heading to Seattle to play the Seahawks. This line is set at 42.5, and I feel like it's a pretty clear over. You can get it at -110 over at Hard Rock Bet. Part of this is just the fact that Seattle is out here trying to score style points. You look at them in some of their recent matchups against some of the worst teams in the league, and they are absolutely running the score against them, including a 26-0 skunking against the JJ McCarthy, or actually it was the Brosmer-led Vikings, but still, almost winning by 30 points against the Falcons last week. You go back, all throughout the season, and they've got 20, 25, 30-point margins of victory. The Seahawks are scoring almost 30 points a game by themselves, right? So if we think that Jonathan Taylor can do anything, if we think that there's maybe a fluky defensive score, this one should shoot past the over pretty readily. Speaking of defensive scores, the Philadelphia Eagles are hosting the Las Vegas Raiders. The over-under is at 38.5. I don't think we see the Raiders limit the Eagles offense in anywhere near as effective a manner as we've seen with the Chargers or some of the more capable defenses in recent weeks. I think Philadelphia is out here needing to make a statement and really needing to place a stranglehold on their lead in the division. This is a great place to do that. So I think this game goes over the 38.5 line. That's 108 over at DraftKings. And my third over, I'm doing my best Steve impersonation here. The Carolina Panthers at the New Orleans Saints. I mentioned earlier, I think they win this one comfortably. You can get this line at an even 40 points, which is simply too low, right? The Carolina Panthers are better than league average in terms of scoring offense, but over the last 3 games, jumps up even higher, almost 25 points a game. The New Orleans Saints, while I don't think that they are going to be competitive and win this game, they are not going to get shut out either. I think they can easily score 10, 12, 13, 15 points, something around that range. That should be plenty to see this line go over 40 points flat. That's -115 at the Sugar House. If you want to buy the hook at 40.5, you can get it closer to 105 at most books. But all 3 of these are low totals that I like to see the scoring surpass in this week's slate.
Maybe a little Kenny Pickett time in there for the great city of Philadelphia when the Raiders come to town. Yeah, so looking forward to that one. I also I thought about maybe a Seahawks defense rising up here and maybe actually taking a Colts team total under. So would you maybe, Eric, be more inclined to take the Seattle Seahawks over a team total? I just worry that maybe they don't get there because I just don't know how many points the Colts score, but they still do have good offensive pieces, right? And that's kind of why I was I don't know how much I want to fade the Colts because they are around 14 and a half points.
They have almost Hall of Famer Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, right.
Soon to be Hall of Famer in 5 more years. Yeah, I think a team total for the Seahawks makes sense. I don't know what the line is, but I mean, if it's floating around low 20s or so, it should probably be something that you can take a look at.
I think the team total for the Colts is 14.5. So I think you're probably looking at high 27.5 probably is what it would be.
Yeah. That feels a little rich. I like the total on the game just because there are more outs, right? Jonathan Taylor is still very effective.
Sure.
They can do something gadgety with Tyler Warren, right? Maybe Phillip Rivers has a trick up his sleeve, or at least is very familiar with his offense because he's been calling it as a high school head coach for the last couple of weeks, right? So I like to have optionality and outs when it comes to this, and I think you've got more of that with the game total as opposed to the team.
Okay, Eric, and you also have a money line play, which is one of the most decisive games that I've seen across the internet. I've seen a lot of people be backing the Patriots. I think gun to the head, I think the Bills just don't let them beat you twice in a year. I always think it's really hard to be a division rival twice in a year, despite how good the Patriots have been. And, back and forth how the Buffalo Bills have been this season, but you see it a different way, maybe.
Yeah, the game in question is the Bills and the Patriots, the rematch from I guess about a month and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Bills on the money line here. If you want to play a little more conservatively, I think there are books where you can get a point and a half for the Bills at a reasonable price tag. The point that I want to underscore that you made is just how tightly contested division games often are, and usually at the top of divisions, you see a lot of split series. Right? It's rare to get that
Yep.
sweep, but also this Bills team is not the team that lost to New England a few short weeks back. Right? Like they were kind of in the midst of a bit of a spiral, kind of rudderless around that point of the season. Since that point, I mean, yes, they lost to my beloved Houston Texans, but setting aside playing against the best defense in the league and maybe one of the best defenses in recent memory, this team really seems to have found its identity and found its footing. I think we're going to see a much more competitive game, and I think this is one that we see the Bills take outright. So happy to get them
How
on the
dare
money
you.
line. Price tag looking at minus 110 was the best price I found at DraftKings.
Disrespect.
Hey man, you gotta do what you gotta do.
I always pick his home team. I'm always Houston.
They've been they've been cashing a lot of good tickets though as of late. Steve, let's go to your player prop here, where you are looking at a potential Bengals wide receiver to just pop off, especially without his cohort out there.
I mean, at this point, is it even popping off for Jamar Chase, or is this just par for the course? Eight or more receptions. T. Higgins out with a concussion. Joe Burrow trying to drag this team to the playoffs at this point. That division is wide open. I see Chase being heavily involved in this game, and I think he's going to be force-fed. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd probably be okay taking an alt line for double digits, seeing if you can't get some plus money on this with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow.
I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson over receiving yards.
Oh, my God.
Listen, I think if there's going to be a Justin Jefferson smash spot this season, it's here after a big win for the Vikings facing the Cowboys, whose secondary, it has turned back into pumpkins, folks, allowing the fourth most receiving yards to wide receivers over the past month, 172.3 per game. That includes game logs of 96 yards to J-Mo last week, 92 yards in the same game to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was not at 100%. Rashee Rice, how about 92? Xavier Worthy, how about 61? Devonta Smith, 89. Also, A.J. Brown, 110. Trey Tucker, Tyler Lockett, they went for 90 yards in a game when Brock Bowers also smashed. So we can just keep going back on this. And wide receivers have shown up, specifically the best ones on the team against the Cowboys. They went through a stretch there where they started to get their stuff together. They haven't, though, over the last 4 or 5 weeks. And honestly, like, I'm probably taking a little bit of a ladder action here on Jettas. This is probably going to open somewhere between 50 and 60 yards. I'm going to probably be laddering that up to 90 yards, 7th in air yards, 9th in deep targets, 7th in target share, 9th in targets. That is more than enough to get it done against the boys. I get it. JJ McCarthy has been rough. He's still getting his feet under him. I'm here for it. I'm here for
what does this man have on you? Like, what does he have? Like, embarrassing photos of you at the Christmas party? Like, what is going on here? Like, this is crazy. Like, that you would back this man like this.
Sometimes I think there's just games where you're due, and I think Justin Jefferson is just due here, and that's where the play is. When I haven't made these bets in the past, I regret it, so I'm going.
If he doesn't, let's just hypothetically say Justin Jefferson has another bad game, and the Vikings offense looks bad. Are you out on JJ McCarthy finally? Is this the game where you're like,
not for the career, but for the season? For the season, I'll stop starting Justin Jefferson in fantasy, and I won't have. This is my first bet on him of the season. I haven't bet on him all year. So I think outside of my future, I had on the Vikings and maybe a couple game lines here and there. And I think I took JJ McCarthy like for a rushing touchdown and over rushing yards once, but I haven't bet on them much. So this is my flag plant moment there. But actually a bet I like a lot better than that, actually. My second favorite bet of the week, it's Jerry Jeudy over 2.5 receptions, minus 140 via the Score Bet. Our friends over there at the Score, transitioning from ESPN Bet. This is another one. I got 3 units down on this. So I'm all in on Cleveland this week. It's either, gonna be great or gonna really hurt me But Judy, he's hit this line in 2 of 3 games with Shedeur Sanders under center. So I think 2.5 is a very, very generous line. I've seen this going off for as low as minus 175. So minus 140 feels like a great deal on those odds, especially because Judy, he's still commanding a 20.3% target share. The Browns are still passing at the 10th highest clip in the league. Plus Cedric Tillman and tight end Dave Njoku were banged up last week. Wide receivers as a whole feasting on the Chicago Bears. Plus their cornerback one, Kyler Gordon. He just got off IR last week. He re-injured himself pregame. So they've allowed the ninth most receptions to the position over the past month, 11 per game. X receivers over that span, Christian Watson, 4 receptions. A.J. Brown, how about 10 receptions? DK Metcalf, 5. Justin Jefferson, 5. So let's go ahead and fire up another JJ action here, but this time Jerry Judy. So Eric, I'm going to go to you where you have a series of parlays, all the same theme, all the same style, just different arms, baby.
I do, but before we get there, I've got a prop bet, which is Josh Allen to go over 40 rushing yards in this game. This is an alt line, so you can get it at plus 123 over at DraftKings. If you want to take a little bit more of a conservative clip, you can find his over-under floating around 31, 32 and a half. Part of this is going back to that identity that I mentioned earlier. Josh Allen is cutting it loose more and more down the stretch run. If you look at his game log, surpassed this number with ease, 53 against New England the first time out in week 5, but also is in the high 30s or 40s or last week in the 70s in the majority of games down the stretch run here. So I think some of this is just as we get into playoff runs, as we get into these high leverage situations, more and more we're going to see Josh Allen cut it loose with his feet. So happy to get some plus money on this one. The aforementioned parlays that you mentioned are one of my favorite little treats in any given week, especially as we get down to the end of the season and we see more random names starting games in the NFL. Basically, every bad or unknown quarterback who is starting this week, I'm going to sprinkle a quarter of a unit on them to throw an interception and for the opposing defense to score an anytime touchdown. Many times that is a pick six, but also that opens up some outs for you as a return touchdown, as a scoop and score, whatever it might be, fumble in the end zone, right? Namely, the players in question that I'm targeting: Brady Cook for the Jets, Phillip Rivers, the aforementioned Phillip Rivers against a turnover-happy Seahawks, and then whether it's Geno Smith, who's been turning the ball over left and right, or Kenny Pickett, who's got a pretty good track record of doing the same, starting for the Raiders against what should be a very angry and motivated Philadelphia Eagles defense. Most of these prices aren't posted quite yet, but historically, when you couple those two together, usually landing in the plus 800, plus 900 kind of range. So happy to get a sprinkle on bad quarterbacks doing dumb things in week 15.
Hey, it's worked for you before, man, so why not go back to the well? Appreciate that, and appreciate all the analysis there, gentlemen. Let's go ahead and round out the program with our touchdown call contest and make our calls of the week. Of course, it's presented by our friends over there at Dynasty Decks. So if you're looking to memorialize or memorialize this fantasy football season, let everyone know, hey, I was the winner. I was the winner. I was the champ, baby. Go over there to Dynasty Decks. They're going to hook you up with a plaque. You keep it forever. There's no passing back and forth because if you're like me, well, you got people who live in a bunch of different places for your league, right? So you need to not be able to have to ship everywhere across the country. I actually broke my fantasy football trophy last year trying to move it to the draft. So I highly recommend getting invested over there with our friends at Dynasty Decks, dynastydecks.com. You can also find them at Dynasty Decks on social. And gentlemen, let's get to the TD call contest where big updates in the leaderboard. We'll start at the top. Trav with a huge week, and of course, Rob as well. They each had 3 apiece. They're at 22, 21 for Rob. James still locked and loaded at 19. So a bit of a division between this top 3 right now. And then it's a 3-way tie by yours truly, Steven Lawson, Eric Romoff, and Seth Wilcock. Yes, yourself, your boy. And Eric, I don't know if you noticed, but I also moved you to the left side of the board as well for my little bit of a. Yeah, I had a bit of a bad rant last week, so Felt like I had to do that. Behind me, Trash Sandwiches at 14, Ben at 14, and Jake Perry, Steve, would you believe it or not? First touchdown call right by Jake Perry, I think in 2 months. He finally gets one. How about that?
He's going to go like rattle off like a monster, like run and win this whole thing.
I would like to see it.
Dark horse.
Hey, you never know. We're going all the way to the Super Bowl. So even though the fantasy football season is ending, the touchdown call contest is still afoot, and you can still get invested with it as well if you want to. We'll even maybe give you a couple extra throw-ins to help you catch back up. Again, you can join the IBT football family for free. You can get access into our memorabilia giveaways. You can also join the conversation with our viewers and our analysts. Ask as many questions as you got for betting and for fantasy football purposes. We'll give you our full weekly cards for paid members, as well as entry into the touchdown call contest. And for free right now, a reminder, the PropDecks playoff contest, first place for this. When you're setting prop-based fantasy football lines over there at PropDeck, you can get a $200 Fanatics gift card. You can also get, if you're in second, a signed Zach Evans jersey. And third place, you're going to get a D&O free 2026 Canton entry. You can join now, inbetweenmedia.com/chat. Navigate over to the PropDecks playoff contest tournament channel, and you're going to get access into that. And let's go ahead to the touchdown calls. Well, I'll start us off this week because I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about this one. Let's start us out with Travis Etienne. No line, but I'm going to guess this is probably somewhere between -130, -140. I'll drink the juice. I don't really care because you only drink the juice if you lose. Travis Etienne, he has scored in 4 of his last 5 games, 6 total touchdowns in that span. Bashaw Tootin is concussed currently, so likely could get even more than the 18.5 touches per game he's averaging this season. Etienne has seen the 8th most rushing attempts inside the 20-yard line, the 7th most inside the 10 as well. The Jets have allowed 10 total touchdowns to running backs over the past month, folks. 2+ in every single game and 3 in half of those games. So now their quarterback gets worse. I think they're going to struggle on offense even way, way more than they have been. The Jags should be able to run all over this one. Also, give me George Kittle anytime touchdown, +130 from our friends over at Bet365. The Kidler, 3 touchdowns in 4 games with Brock Purdy. He's seen an average of 6.3 targets in those games, including 1 red zone target per game. The Titans have allowed 3 touchdowns to tight ends in the past 2 weeks alone. We saw Fannin and Njoku get in last week for Cleveland. I think a +130 price tag for pay dirt for George Kittle is not a bad gamble either. So that's where I'm going, Kittle and Etienne. Steven, who do you got?
I am going to go to the Cleveland Browns game and go with Quinshon Judkins, the Wildcat master out there for Cleveland. It's a good time. I think this is an opportunity for him to really pop off and kind of get multiple touchdown opportunities against a team in the Chicago Bears whose defense is pretty much cheeks at this point. It's not good. Their run defense isn't very good either. I don't trust Shedeur Sanders to throw a ton of touchdowns, so I do expect Judkins to kind of get them over the goal line when he has the opportunity. And then because the fantasy gods despise me and everything that I stand for, Bijan Robinson will be the next one to score a touchdown because I am playing against him in the fantasy football playoffs, and I need it to hurt less when he pops off against me. So that is really sometimes you make these picks because you just know that that's how it's going to go. That's how you just know it's going to go. But Bijan Robinson is clearly one of the top 5 running backs in the NFL right now. I do expect him to have more openings with Drake London returning, less stacked boxes, more verticality in terms of that passing game, and that's going to open up some running lanes for Bijan Robinson. I expect him to get into the end zone at least once.
I hope it goes better this year. Second call with Bijan Robinson. You went 0 for 2 this year with Jonathan Taylor, Steve. That is crazy, dude.
Didn't he score this week?
No, he did not. No, he did not. You got your touchdown. I don't even think you got one this week. You had one last week. So yeah, no JT. So unless I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure I didn't give you one for JT.
Fact checking.
So, yeah, give me a little fact check. But yeah, that has been it's been a tough scene for you. You picked him in the 2 worst matchups though, against the Texans and Chiefs. So I know you're waiting to hold him. I know, but desperation doesn't look good on you, my friend. Eric, what looks good on you this week for the anytime touchdown?
Hey, he did score.
Yeah,
Oh.
what does not look good is the fact that
Oh.
Jonathan Taylor scored against the Jacksonville Jaguars last week.
Steve, you might have 17 then. You might have
Not
17.
I do.
Well,
Just math.
I can't remember who else you picked. I'll do. Yeah, we'll look back.
We're gonna have to run a full audit. For all we know, Steve and I are in first place by a mile, and Seth is
easy.
just trying to hold
Now he's
us
trying to
back.
rob me because he doesn't want to look bad.
Yeah. I share so many things in terms of reasoning and sentiment with Steve in this touchdown contest. The first of which is every time that I save a minus 200 or minus 300 favorite for later in the season, they always come up with a goose egg. I'm going to go back to the well this week and play Christian McCaffrey for the first time all season. I think he's minus 275. So what could possibly go wrong? But the thing that put me over the hump with this being the week is I am facing him in 2 of my 3 fantasy playoffs, and I want to have a little bit of an emotional hedge. At least I will climb up the leaderboard in the touchdown call contest as I am getting bounced from the playoffs. But also Tennessee is allowing almost 2 rushing touchdowns per game per their opponents. They're also one of the worst teams in the league in terms of receiving yards allowed to the running back position. All of that bodes very, very well for Christian McCaffrey in a game that San Francisco should win pretty handily. My underdog on the other side of this card is none other than the recently extended Mark Andrews plus 155 is his anytime touchdown price tag over at DraftKings. Look, the Cincinnati Bengals against tight ends are not just the most favorable matchup in all of the NFL this year. They're one of the most favorable matchups of all time. They've allowed 15 receiving touchdowns to tight ends this season. The second place team is the Washington Commanders with 9. Like, it is a prolific rate.
That's wild.
If you look at the tight end number 1 against Cincinnati and their average weekly scoring, it's essentially up there with like a top 10 flex position type of productivity. I think that carries forward with Mark Andrews this week. You can also consider Isaiah Likely if you prefer. You get a little bit better of a price tag with Likely, but if you look at how the Ravens deploy these two, Mark Andrews is currently tied for 5th in the league with 9 targets inside of the 10-yard line. So I like him to convert at least one of those into a touchdown and to move further up the left side of this graphic when we meet here next week.
You know, you're lucky, boys, because I've been playing an honest game here. I bet every single touchdown call I've had, I've not gone past minus 160. We'll have a cap next year for that. Don't you worry about it, folks, because a little cheapo action going. You could have came on CMC a couple weeks ago with me, Eric, when I had 4 units on him. He got in the end zone, and he was minus 130. Yeah, but now you're going on minus 200. So, yeah, forget that.
This is strategery. You save the hammer for the end of the game.
I still got 2 CMC options. You better believe I'm running them back to back in these coming weeks.
I got 2 Jonathan Taylors.
I do as well. So you're not going to be jumping me, brother. That's for dang sure. But you know what is for dang sure? Also, the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast. We're out of here on that. If you've rode along with us so far and you didn't hate us that much, please give us a thumbs up. Also, make sure to subscribe to the entire channel. We've got fantasy football and NFL betting coverage, college football betting, NASCAR betting, PGA betting, and entertainment betting, all to help you cash more to enjoy the ride along the way. Also, be sure to check out in-betweenme.com for some dope written content. And while you're over there, you can go to in-betweenme.com/chat. You can join the Discord for free right now. Join our postseason PropDecks contest in addition to the touchdown call contest for Eric Romoff, Steven Lawson, and of course, Kyle Scott. I'm Seth Wilcock. Thanks for watching and keep it in between until next time, y'all.